Hey, welcome back to the Rock Fantasy YouTube channel, part of our interview series. Today I get to chat with Zachary Ezrin from the band Imperial Triumphant, who are set to release a new album on March 21st. They will be releasing their sixth studio album, Goldstar, via Century Media Records. And we were here just to chat about the new record. Maybe here, for those that don't know who Imperial Triumphant are, we talk a little bit about who they are, what they're about, and all that stuff. So, welcome to the show, Zach. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Stephen. Appreciate it.
So, let's talk about this new album. How does it differ from? Maybe talk a little bit about it, and how does it differ from the last release?
Yeah, I'd say Goldstar is probably the sickest album ever made, and
Ever made by
and
anyone?
in the history of the world.
Okay, okay.
And I think that part of how that make is different from what we've done in the past is we switched things up. We put a little bit of boundaries on ourselves that we haven't put in the past. One boundary was we wanted to limit all of our songs to 5 minutes or less.
Okay.
And obviously, not all of them are like that. One is a bit longer, but that was the general idea going into this songwriting session. Was to let's try to make most of our songs are usually 8 or 9 minutes. Let's try to cut that in half and see what if we can still be ourselves, still be Imperial Triumphant, but write in shorter format. And then another big boundary that we put on ourselves was that we recorded the whole album in 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was because of the Abat tour. We were set to record much longer, and then we got the offer, and you don't say no to that offer. So
Mhm.
we had to just rip it and then get on the road. And I would say, I feel like when creativity has boundaries put on it, whether it's time or money or what have you, you have to think harder, and there has to be a box for you to think outside the box. And I always use Chinese democracy as a great example of too much time, too much money.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that
I
is.
think
Yeah, that's a great example.
I do think that a lot of art can benefit from pressure and time or money restraints. And I'm very, very, very proud of what we've accomplished with this record. And I do think these boundaries helped us just think differently, think more creatively, because we can't say everything we want maybe in 5 minutes. So you got to cut the fat, cut anything that's not absolutely necessary, stuff like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And it kind of stemmed from, since the last record, we played probably hundreds of shows, and we're getting a lot more support slots and stuff like that. And they give you like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you have such long songs, you can't
Hmm.
construct a very dynamic or very many sets. So we were like, let's just write shorter songs so we can have just swap them out and move them around and have more fun with it.
Yeah, you're opening up for someone, and you're like, "Well, we can do two songs tonight."
Yeah, well, which two songs do you want to play tonight? Yeah,
Kind of like Opeth, right?
exactly.
That
And
and yeah,
so
so that
yeah,
sure, sure.
it's more
So,
fun.
so new album. You've shot a couple videos that have been released already. Of course, it sounds like you did this album quite a while ago because I you recorded it a while back because the Abbott tour, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken, I was at the one. I saw you down in New York
Yeah, it was
City,
already in the can by that point.
and that was back. What was it like? Maybe
Early May.
early May, late May of
Yeah.
2024, and got to see you at the Gramercy that night, and kind of was like, wow, what are these guys all about? And I guess we could talk a little bit about that. For those that don't know Imperial Triumph, that they come on stage and they have a show and they wear masks and capes, and to me, it's very interesting, mysterious, theatrical. So what about the concepts of the masks and imagery behind the band? What the meanings or significance of them?
Well, Art Blakey said they see you before they hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important to represent your music visually if you're going to perform live. and
Mm-hmm.
that can be as complex or not complex as you want to make it. And for us, we kind of just all, there wasn't even like a one member who wasn't into it. We're all like, yeah, this is a cool idea. Let's see what happens if we go this mask route. And, we started doing masks 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was doing masks. It
Mm-hmm.
was like us, Slipknot, Ghost,
Sure.
and Guar, like those are
Pretty much
now
it.
it's much more common now, but it wasn't as much back in the day. And I definitely just enjoy, it's a huge pain in the ass, of course, but I enjoy the creative process of building the live visual performance and tying that into our music and our themes and our concepts. And it's, I think, different than what most masked bands usually lean to. It's a little more aloof, a little more like loftier, a little more eyes wide shut, a little more metropolitan.
Mm-hmm.
Still got the occult with the eyes wide shut sort of thing, but in a different way, in a more New York way, I feel like. And I really, I mean, yeah, you can call it a gimmick for sure. It's a gimmick because it's going to pull you in, and it works as a gimmick. Let that be known, because it does pull people in, and then they're more open to the music, which is not easy. I'm the first to admit it. It is challenging music, so why not
For
bring
sure.
in a way to help people get into the world, with like a visual aspect? I think it makes total sense.
And like it seems like like these masks and everything you're talking about, it goes back to your. I see some of your song titles are like 1920s. And I've seen your videos of you talking about the architectural from old buildings from back in that area, and that
Oh yeah.
and of course you just shot. We're starting to talk about the videos. You shot a video for the song Lexington Delirium, which also has Thomas Hake of Meshuggah involved with that
Hmm.
song, and you were actually filming that in the Chrysler building. And it was funny because I was at the Gramercy last night to see another show with a friend, and I'm looking, and we're walking around the city, and I'm like, "Is that the Chrysler building right there?" And he was like, "Yes, it
Yeah.
is." And we were saying, and
Yeah.
I was telling him how I was going to be chatting with you, and we were talking about. Hey, he was actually at the show with me last year, and so I was talking about how you guys filmed this video up there, and yeah, let's talk about that video a little bit and that song.
The dream come true, man. That was a goal of mine for a long time, to shoot a video in the Chrysler building, and we achieved it. And I'm so, so proud of how it came out. I think it is one of my favorite videos we've ever done. I think it's not easy to shoot a heavy metal video in daylight. But
Mm-hmm.
having said that, I really am proud of the crew and everyone, all the work that everyone did. I think it's a simple concept for a video, just the band on the most iconic building in city and
Mm-hmm.
rocking out. I think that's cool as hell. And we're just very grateful for everyone that made that happen.
And what is that song about per se? Is there any meaning behind it?
That song is kind of like a love letter to the Chrysler Building, and all, because it's on Lexington, of course, Lexington
Yep.
Ave,
Okay.
and, but also just sort of like an homage to all things related to Manhattanism and early 20th century skyscraper mentality, and all those, this sort of just craziness around
Yeah.
ultra luxury art deco mega buildings, and building them in ways that at that time the world had never seen.
Yeah. I was actually watching a video that you shot with Metal Injection a couple of years ago where you were walking around and talking about some of the architecture in New York City. Are you born and raised in Manhattan?
I am.
Okay, so you guys are based. You're a New York City band because I saw you last year with Black Anvil, and I'm kind of hearing like through the club that night or the theater that Imperial Triumphant are also playing a hometown show tonight because you guys are New York City based also, and very,
Correct.
very
Yeah.
interesting. I'm about 60 miles north of New York City. I have a record store here called Rock Fantasy, which I've had since 1985.
Where
And
are you living?
I'm in Middletown, New York. We're in Middletown, New York.
Okay, cool.
We're about an,
Nice.
so almost of all the shows we go to are in the city, so we're
Right.
about 60 miles. My both of my neighbors work for the Port Authority, so we're like we're the outer suburbs of the Manhattan
Hmm.
area, New York City area.
Nice.
So anyhow, you also did a video for Hotel Spinks. What's that song about? And what about
That song,
about the video a little bit?
well, actually, I produce a lot of the videos that we make,
Okay,
but I did not produce that one, actually. That was our bass player, Steve Blanco, produced that one.
okay.
And that was so I can't speak fully about it, but I remember the story basically goes, a couple of years ago, we were playing a show in Indianapolis, and some fans brought us like these dolls that they had made of
That's
us.
right. Yeah, that's the video with the horses, right?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
super, super weird video. I
It's
love it.
cool. Yeah,
It's
it's great. I
it's
just watched it.
insane. And I got to, and so we got these dolls, and then Steve got this idea, like to do like a stop motion animation sort of video concept with these dolls. And I think the video is great. I'm glad I didn't work on it because it looked like an insane amount of work.
Mm,
Stop motion animation, all that stuff is just like is very painstaking and very tough. But I really think it's crazy and weird, and that to me sounds very Imperial Triumphant.
I know you're the miniature versions of you are destroying their equipment in the end, and
Yeah, it's
ter-
fucking crazy,
they're
man.
bloody skeletons. There's horseback riding through the woods. Yes, it's a very interesting video. I was actually listening to your music on the way home from the show last night. I saw Decapitated Incantation at the Gramercy in your neck of the woods there. And yeah, knowing I was doing this assignment today, I said, let's listen to this on the way home. And man, your music is all across the board. I just think, yeah, we're also going to talk a little bit. You're getting ready to go and embarking on the big Decibel North American
Hmm.
magazine tour with Mayhem and Mortiz. And I really think that you're a great fit with Mayhem. To me,
Yeah.
and like, I'm not talking about the earlier Mayhem stuff. I'm talking about what Mayhem has done in the last few years. And I just feel your music is a lot like and at least my ears pick it up where it's kind of like the same because it's all like across the board. But you guys got horns and stuff in some of your stuff. And like, so how would you describe? I'd say no one's ever listened to Imperial Triumph that's just watching, which I'm sure if you haven't. What kind of music is
Uh,
it? I mean, I hear black
my
metal.
elevator pitch is if 70s Miles Davis started a death metal band. I
Okay.
think that's the the best way of describing it.
Because it's
In my mind, it's
definitely,
just like I've been calling it just avant death,
yeah,
just because
okay.
it's sort of I think that's like a easy to remember title for this sort of like micro genre that's
Mm,
a lot of bands in the city are doing, like
hmm
Crowless, Piron, maybe even Couch Slut or
hmm
even like Yellow Eyes and
mm.
um, half of Gorguts lives in New York and writes it in
Oh, yeah.
Gorguts, like
Yeah.
so like there's and we all kind of descending from this family tree that Gorguts is the father of. I feel
Yeah.
like,
It's
but
almost,
that's kind of
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost
I think
proggy. I'd say almost a little like proggy at
yeah,
times.
for
Oh,
sure
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
prog. Yeah, it's
It's
pulling from
proggy.
so much, and it's definitely weird, and I love it, and I love that we have that like
Hmm
New York sound of just like anything goes, you know.
Like I told you before we start taping, I find it all very mysterious and interesting. And with the everything and like what you're, the meaning behind it now, and just talking to you, it
Thank you.
sounds great. I hope I can make it to the show. I probably do plan on coming down. It's at Irving Plaza for those that are watching in the New York area. And
Be
of course,
there.
and when does this tour kick off? Is it
The
pretty soon?
17th of March.
Oh, so right around the corner, about a month from now.
Yeah.
As we're
Hmm.
taping this on February 11th, and it seems like all the, it's always that time of year in New York City where like I was talking with John from Incantation last night. It's like a lot of the bands get off the 70,000 tons boat and they start the tour cycle. And we get all these tours in New York City, and you try to keep up with them in like the Northeast. So like February, March, April into May, where like all the bands are coming around. And I see it's so many shows, coming up in the area. So that's this time of year where you just try to catch all the gigs when they come through, and the bands you like, the bands you want to check out. So getting to be an
Oh yeah.
exciting time of the year. You also shot a video for the Eyes of Mars. Is that more of like a live video, was it?
You know what's crazy? I'll give you a little
Oh, Eye of Mars.
behind the scenes like trivia about that one. We shot that video. We were like really pressed for time after we got off our European tour because we were
Mm-hmm.
shooting like three music videos in a
Yep.
week. And so we had rented this psych stage
Yep.
in Brooklyn, and we were shooting that. We were also doing promo videos, um, and we were shooting the video that's going to drop tomorrow,
Oh,
Pleasure
there is.
Dome.
Oh, there's the new one coming
hmm
out tomorrow. Cool. What is
Yeah,
that? Okay.
that's the one with Thomas Hawk and Dave Lombardo.
Oh,
But
wow.
we were just like, you know what? Let's just crank out a video. So that video was shot in about 30 minutes with just a little bit of creativity and a little bit of lighting. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it's great and it works and it services the song. It's intense, and I think the whole Eye of Mars, red concept
Yep.
is simple but works. And yeah, that was just like while other actors were getting into costume for the next video shoot, we just shot that, in 30 minutes.
Cool, cool. So I look forward to checking that video out. You got Dave Lombardo. So is he sitting in on the drums on this or what?
Yeah, he takes a couple drum solos on that song.
Wow. Very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
we wanted to try something different than just have him do like the Slayer thing.
That was another question. Were there any more videos coming out? And I guess you answered that. Do you plan on any other things coming from this album too?
Yeah, we're gonna have a little mini studio doc
Okay.
that will probably come out in a couple weeks or something. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, but just like because it was the last we recorded at Menegroth Studios in Queens,
Okay.
and with Colin Marston, who we worked with since the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and he was closing up his studio. He was getting not kicked out, but they sold the place and they
Mm-hmm.
were getting rid of all the tenants, and so he was losing his studio, and we were the last band to record there.
Wow.
So it's sort of like a little doc about making Goldstar, and also just sort of like the importance of this amazing studio and
Mm-hmm.
the album that was the last one to ring through its halls.
So who are the current members in the band? And go over I mean
It's
we just
myself, Steve Blanco on bass and keys and backing
mm-hmm.
vocals, and then Kenny Grahowski on drums. Just a power trio.
Cool. And so another question for those that may not know, you go by your regular names. You don't have a stage name with the costume, with the mask.
No, we didn't really feel like it, I
Okay.
guess.
So we know who you
I
are,
don't
right?
know.
We know who you
You
are
know
now.
we are.
We've
It's
un
fine.
we've
I don't.
un
I
we've unmasked Imperial Triumphant today.
Yeah, and I'm not going to do an interview with the mask on because, like, I don't have a Transylvanian accent. Like I sound like a pretty regular American guy,
Yep,
so
yep,
I think
yep.
it doesn't sound that cool. Um, but we did name the masks. Like each one of our masks, we
Okay,
chose like a name of just some ancient god and named it
okay.
that. So the masks have names.
And do the masks change from year to year or different performances?
From album cycle to album cycle,
Oh,
they've
okay.
changed. We just got new ones, and so
I
I was
thought
finally able to retire mine.
I thought I saw something about where a meet and greet and there'll be different masks or new masks. I thought I was, as I read up a little bit on you guys. Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
I guess maybe just to round this up, what about a little bit of the history of the band? I see you've been doing, so you founded the band, and when did you start this? All the way back, right?
It's kind of tough to say because yeah, on like the web on Metal Encyclopedia Metallum it says 2005,
Yeah, yeah.
but I start basically the truth is I started a band in 2005 and called it Imperial Triumphant, but
Mhm.
it's a wildly different band.
Okay.
So I would rather consider it two bands with the same name
Hmm.
because I had different players. We were playing basically just immortal worship kind of music, like
Okay.
just obsessed with that sort of black metal. And uh, and then when I got out of music school, I got a new lineup and put out in 2012. I put out Abominamentum, which
Okay.
is a wildly different style, and
Hmm.
that is sort of the main, I guess, real genesis in my opinion. And
Hmm.
then the really like exciting shit happens 6 years later when we drop Vile Luxury because 2015 is when we get the lineup that we have now, Steve and Kenny.
Okay. Yep.
So there's been some lineup changes. It wasn't easy to get the guys I got now, but
Hmm.
I never stopped pushing, and I'm really grateful for that because the chemistry we have as a trio is so just one of a kind.
Yeah, sounds great. And I guess the maybe the last question I have for you, what other plans do you have to promote the new album? And are there any other tours planned? I guess it's kind of a two-headed question. After the Decibel tour, are you planning to go to Europe or anywhere else? Or,
Yeah, we just announced the tour with Igor in October, and we have
okay,
some festivals in this summer and August. We're talking about possibly going to Asia and Oceania
nice.
in this year as well. Would love to hit South America if we can make that happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
very I'm really excited to see how far Goldstar takes us.
Mm-hmm.
We're my favorite part about being in this band is playing live, so I'm
And
looking forward to it.
let's say whatever couple of the bands that influenced you, I guess Immortal you already mentioned, and it must have been
Love
cool.
Immortal, dude.
It must have been
It's a
great to get the call to say, "Hey, you want to go out on the road with Abbott last year?"
dream come
Then,
true, man.
yeah. And let's say three bands that influence you to surround us all tonight. Three groups, three
Uh,
artists.
yeah, Portal is definitely one of them. I
Okay.
love Portal. It's probably one of my favorites. Um, Metallica
Okay.
because they fucking kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And and one more. Yeah, I mean, there's so many bands. It's
I'm
hard to
putting you on the
say. I
spot.
think I think Behemoth has been a big influence on
Okay.
us.
That
When I was a
makes sense.
teenager, I was listening to a lot of Behemoth, and we've been able to tour a couple times with them now,
Oh,
and
have you? Okay.
and yeah, and it's really great. And I can tell that I'm not the only one that feels this way because their fans are always so good to us, and they always show up early and rock out with us. It's so nice.
When did you?
And
Mm-hmm. Go
we
ahead.
did a U.S. tour with them in 2023, and then we did a few festival or not a few like club dates in Europe
Okay.
over the summers. But I mean, that's a band also that's similar to us in the sense that they're
I agree.
working very hard on the visual aesthetic
Oh
and
yeah.
making sure that it is all gels and it all
Mm-hmm.
flows and it all is, and the packaging of the vinyl, everything is meticulously thought
Mm-hmm.
about. And I think that's how you kind of garner really loyal fans who are just like want to be in the world. They want to exist in your world, and I think that's really fun.
Talking about vinyl, do you have some different variants coming out with this release?
Yeah, and we have really sick vinyl. Like the packaging is really cool. It's all sort of cigarette themed, so there's a lot of like warning labels and packaging, and like the stickers and the foil is all very kind of like you're
Great.
opening a fresh pack of death metal.
That's nice. Well, I guess it kind of wraps up our time and something else
No,
you'd like
thank
to,
you very much, Stephen.
something else you would like to add that we haven't covered, but I think we crossed most.
Well, I mean, anyone watching this, especially those of you in New York or the New York tri-state area, we really appreciate anyone who's ever bought our merch, our tickets, or records. Like, this is our hometown, so it means a lot to us to be
Hmm.
supported by where we're from, and so
Hmm.
we look forward to absolutely just murdering the 30 minutes we have at Irving Plaza.
Yeah, it's gonna be killer and mayhem. That never
Yeah,
stops. I've seen them so many times. I think Attila is just so crazy, so
big talent, big
so
talent.
so intense on stage. I've seen them at
Yeah,
Irving a couple times already, but I plan on coming to the show. So yeah, I guess that's about it from us today. And I thank you for watching the Rock Fantasy Files on the Rock Fantasy YouTube
thank you.
channel, and thank you for giving time to the channel. I wish you all the luck in the world with this tour and everything coming out with the
Thank you,
album.
Steven. I appreciate it.
And I'll make sure we have some in stock at my record shop for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Hopefully we come by soon.
All right, sounds great.
All right. Be well.